Good morning.
Depende.
Yo, yo.
Yeah. So, I have a quick question.
Yes.
When you decide to make a decision, are you like really like, okay, you have enough information, or do you continue to just gather as much information as you possibly can in order to make the decision? Like a really,
Well, I think you have to continue to gather as much data as you can. I think if you make your decision and then you're like, well, I've already made my decision and I'm going to block any new data or information that comes my way that could help me either confirm or change that decision, then I think that's awfully short sighted.
good point. Very good point. Well, let's get into some of this news. Um, an absolute jam-packed headline morning. It's like if we could find any. It's almost as if every publication editor went and had happy hour last night, and they were like, you know what, stonks are doing good. We have to do something in order to make things issue. So we were basically pounded with headlines all morning from Bitcoin in New York, as far as limiting um, their carbon footprint and creating a system, and kind of like in the cannabis industry, basically seed to sale is what they're looking at. They want to know where your mining is coming from. So that legislation is being floated. It is on the governor's desk. We'll see what happens with that and how Bitcoin reacts. Elon must have had some really, really bad sushi last night because he said he has a bad feeling about the economy and plans to reduce Tesla's staff by about 10%. What becomes interesting about that conversation point is usually when companies say, hey, we're doing layoffs, or hey, we're doing anything that reduces expenses, the company tends to perform well from a price action standpoint. So if companies are getting ahead of whatever may or may not be out there and leaning down a little bit, that could be more advantageous than not for some of these companies. It seems like there are several other companies that are popping up with hiring freezes and job cuts and blah blah blah. It's like over and over and over again. Um, and seeing the data that just came out a few minutes ago, really really mixed in a lot of ways. It's like you had unemployment tick up a little bit. You had wages, while they were higher than expected, ticking down from the previous report. So there is a lot of murk, if you will, very very muddy water regarding the employment situation. I think that's the best way to look at it. One data point does not create a trend, nor does two, but right now it is very, very murky. And with the Fed continuing to put pressure to crush the consumer, um, this becomes more and more something that we have to pay attention to as far as if we're getting any more of these headlines um, that are basically cutting wages, cutting employment, and what the overall impact on that is. What becomes that much more interesting is when you juxtapose that against earnings, like let's say with a Lulu or a Victoria's Secret and Capri. They came out with great earnings. They basically said, no problem. The American consumer continues to say, hold my beer, and we're going to keep on going. Even with gas prices being as high as they are, we've only seen a 5% drop in gas consumption from a year ago. So the consumer continues to stay strong. The question is how many whoopings can it take before we start seeing some real weakness within the numbers? That is something that, again, with all of these headwinds, with all of these headlines, with all of this negative, I don't want to say energy, but negative mindset towards the economy, towards the markets, towards the companies, towards the consumer. Um, there's a tendency, if you will it, it will come. If you continue to pump it, it will come. And that's something that we have to all be aware of when we're navigating and trading the markets. Even Hormel, once again, coming out and saying, hey, we're going to get a spike in turkey prices. This is with food prices already being elevated because the bird flu apparently is doing some stuff to some turkeys. In other news, Sycamore is putting in a bid for Kohl's. They estimate the price to be somewhere in the mid 50s. Kohl's said somewhere in the mid 60s. So there is definitely a gap there in what they're looking at. We talked about jobs data, and I think that's about all we'll cover as far as that. Bender, what do you have on our lines and levels?
Well, first I want to know, are you over there like wrestling with your microphone?
I think so. I'm wearing a different jacket, so maybe because
You don't ever wear that jacket again.
I never wear this, but it's
It's
raining.
very noisy.
Okay, I'll take off the jacket. Is there anything else you'd like me to take off, Ben?
No, absolutely not. I think that's good. Just the jacket. Cool. All right. So we pulled a little bit this morning, and we are below the 10 and the 20 on the 60-minute. On ES, we are sitting right at the 50. So that pull, the 50 MA comes in at 41.32, and I put it in the chat that I was going long right here. So I'm long against that 50 MA. Obviously, that 41.34 number that's been in play for a week is still in play. Not a week, but still in play. So we got that 41.34 and the 50 right now coming in at 41.32. Targets that we're kind of looking at. Keep an eye on 41.40. That's the 5-day moving average, or the 5 MA on the daily. Upside targets, if we get a bounce here, like I'm looking for, we got 41.50. Obviously, that's been key. 41.70 was important, and then that whole round number of 4,200. Hopefully, we'll go for that today. Downside, we've got this, 41.32 being the 50, 41 now 34 is just above us. 41.34, 41.10 would be that next kind of level of support. I'm going to post this chart in Discord, but this little near term for the last 2 weeks, this little near term upward channel that we've been in, parallel channel, we have fallen just out of it, just below it. We need to reclaim what was trendline support. We popped through it yesterday, and then drop back below. So to reclaim that today, we have to be just over 4,200. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Thank you, Bender. I removed the jacket, so I should not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It sounded like you were over there just like I don't know, playing with your collars. Were you popping the collar? You got the pink polo on, and you were like,
it rains here. So I'm used to no rain, so it's like I'm having to go through my wardrobe, if you will, to find things that work. It's an interesting. I mean, to readjust. There's a lot to readjust with, including rain. There is rain here, apparently.
Yeah, I hear that about the Northeast.
Yeah. All right, there, Stockington. What you got for us, buddy?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, so like you said, big move down. So this can always be a interesting one when it comes to the watch list, because me over here on California time, I'm making the watch list night before. So when we get this move down, it's like, okay, well, what do we do with these levels? So, what I always like to, take a little extra time on gap days, just because there's all this repositioning and everything. So I dropped the charts in there in Discord. I put the charts the night before on Twitter, Discord, everywhere. So there's not, I'm giving out these lines that are not just the watch list triggers, but a couple additional lines, so that, like, for example, we're all kind of like watching Apple every day. So it's like when we move down or up, these charts have these extra lines so that you can, still, like, for example, Apple here, it's got this longer term fib at 147.65, so we can kind of see what we get as a reaction to that. Got another line on the chart that I posted, 148.50, that also looked, kind of lined up with upper orb yesterday, as well as it looks like pretty key level here pre-market. So yeah, I've got, Apple, I'll be watching how it reacts to this longer term fib, as well as that 148.50 if we get there. BABA, that's one, never really too surprised when I see an open that doesn't really line up with where we closed. China always likes those names can gap. So BABA was getting hit with some dark pool this whole week at 96.36 area. So I'll see if we get back up there. A rejection of that could be a nice put play today. And then now we have Square stuck in between two different dark pools at 86.22, and then below there's one at 84.79. So break of either of those dark pools, we can see what direction we get on Square. And then lastly, Affirm. Affirm had some decent put closing yesterday. And so I'll be watching, what happens around the 25 even level. And then it looks like 26 even would be probably a pretty key level based on pre-market price action. And then the one other podcast related idea I had yesterday, I think you're probably going to need a theme song in here. And I don't know, you might have missed a while back. Kang got a theme song over there in main chat that I put together. So if you're okay with being recorded, I could put something together for us here at some point.
We're going to have to approve all quotes before they go out. Me specifically, I know I say a lot of wild shit, so get caught up anytime soon. But thank you. Yeah, no, let's definitely work on something like that. It'd be fun. So anyways, thank you for that. I think when we have days like this, and Stockton pointed at a little bit, we have to go back and understand that we've been always been leaning slightly bullish, even though that bear is still taking wild shots. Yesterday, from a flow standpoint, going out to next week, there were some tickers that looked pretty good. Facebook, PayPal, Microsoft, NVIDIA, they all looked pretty good. That flow looked pretty solid going into next week. With that being said, as the flow comes through and we move throughout the day, are they coming in on the bid on those tickers? Are they dumping out? Are they putting puts on? What are they doing exactly when you have this little grouping of fairly solid, good bull flow coming through? What are they doing? What are they doing with it? Are they dumping out or are they re-adding? That's the question, and that's where we need to put our diligence in, because they start coming in bid side on NVIDIA and coming back with, let's say, 150 puts on NVIDIA going out to July. That's not a good set. That's not what we want to see. At least if you're on in the bull camp. You're wanting to see them either double down or be patient with those positions, more so than flipping out and going back the other way. I think that'll be the theme for the day. Global markets held up pretty well last night with, I guess, a couple of countries. Hong Kong was on a boat holiday and something to do with the Jubilee in Europe. And I'm not sure what a Jubilee is, but the Jubileeing. And so that's where we are with that. Last piece that I want to put out there, I think that everybody in this room has had a very, very nice week. I think we've all performed really, really well and put on some really nice trades. I think that the vast majority of people in here have made good, solid money this week. It would be a shame to give that back. With that being said, be careful today. We are going into the weekend. They are wanting to drive every negative headline possible down our throats. So when the headlines that are going out to the broad market are fairly negative, that gives an opportunity for a real sell. And that's not something that any of us want to be a part of. Bender's charting has been absolutely on point. I think he said pretty emphatically that he's still looking for that upside move. That's something that I will be leaning towards it unless flow absolutely, switches on me. So the pieces of the puzzle for that, even the VIX, even with this big downside move, we're not getting a big upside move on the VIX, even though we can see a pretty dramatic inverse head and shoulders forming out here pre-market. The move on the dollar that I believe instigated a lot of this push down is starting to give back off of that high. And I think that that's something that we have to continue to watch. It's like usually middling to bad data will point to a weaker dollar. That's not what we got off of that print. Now, if we can flip red on the dollar, I think we have a real opportunity to rally here a little bit. And even with that being said, gold took a pretty nasty punch in the face. Gold could be a good play moving forward. Watching gold to see what we're doing over there. Maybe be able to scalp some JNUG, maybe able to get in some GDXJ, something along those lines. We have to be willing to be nimble, to be sharp. Peter, Buckington, you guys have anything else?
Nothing else for me. I'm going to be playing with all these new black box tools. There's some cool stuff that got pushed out last night. So if you haven't seen the messages about it, haven't you'll see a pop-up when you log into Blackbox. It has you do a hard refresh. There's a bunch of new stuff that got pushed out last night. So I'm looking forward to playing with that.
Awesome. Well, throughout the day, man, post that stuff as far as what you're doing. As far as what, the new toy that you're liking and whatnot. That'll be fun. We can all play along with that.
Okay. That just wants me to post pictures playing with the new toy so everyone can play. I just, man, you said so many wrong things right there.
Dude, was it wrong or right? I think that's all about appetite. I think some people could be into it. It's like all right, I'm
going to go get some breakfast before this market opens.
Before this, real quick, the quote of the day: "And who insists upon seeing with perfect clearness before he decides, never decides. Accept life, not accept regret." That is Henry Frederick. You can go eat your breakfast.
You kind of cut out there, but I think we caught it. All right. I'll see you in a few.
See you guys.